Hi, welcome to my Witchwood spoiler review series thing. I'm some random guy, and I'm going to talk to you about what I think these cards are going to do in 2 days and in the foreseeable future. This is my first time doing one of these. For a bit of my background in prediction, I called Control Warlock being a thing as soon as Void Lord was spoiled. I would call Secret Mage being a thing, called Raza Priest being a thing, said Call to Arms was going to be excellent and revitalize Aggro Paladin. So basically I'm a super genius, and you should listen to me because I'm always right about everything. So, also as a general note as we move in about how you should handle a spoiler season, there's a powerful reflex to be very pessimistic about new cards that look kind of meh, right? There's like this weird trend in our culture now. I still blame House for this, but where cynicism is viewed as intelligence, so people are very eager to casually dismiss things, and I don't see a lot of value in just saying everything's bad all the time. I think it's more beneficial because if you're right about something being bad, you don't get anything. But if you can see the ways in which something might be good, then you're better prepared to capitalize upon it in the future. That doesn't mean I'm not going to shit on cards, because I'm going to shit on a lot of these cards. There are a lot of cards, I think, that are bad in this set. But there's going to be cards that a lot of people think are bad that are going to be amazing. They're going to be major players. Like, it happens literally every set. Possessed Lackey. I said Possessed Lackey was going to be garbage, and I was wrong. I can cop to that. So, open-minded. You want to be open-minded. That's kind of my general note moving forward. And then I just want to spend the rest of this first video talking about two cards in particular. Baku and Genn. The odd-even mechanic is kind of... I guess it's not the only new thing they're pushing, but it's like the most noteworthy, the most revolutionary new mechanic that we're getting. So, these cards... we haven't seen anything like this. We've seen a lot of cards where you build your deck in a certain way. Some of them are really great, and some of them have been really bad. Can't even think of the bad ones, but they're out there. Yeah, so I just lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought trying to think of a bad one. I should have had that ready before going if I was going to make a Reno example. I can't get my brain off it now. Anyways, look, I'm getting distracted and I apologize. Genn and Baku. So we've never had something where you get the benefit immediately. That was the point I was trying to make. You build around the card. That's normal and that can be managed. But getting the benefit immediately is really significant, and it changes how we have to think about deck building. So I wanted to just really dig in and try to see what these might be good at. So we'll start with Genn. I think Genn is actually the worst of the two, which makes sense because he's actually... that's probably why he's the better statted of the two. It seems Blizzard thought the same. Let me look at my notes here. So, yeah, so the Genn effect, making your hero power cost 1, this is primarily something that you want in like a tempo deck, is the assumption here, right? Because as you approach turn 10 or later with most decks, the difference of your hero power costing 1 or 2 isn't as significant usually. So it's mostly something it seems like you'd want to use in the early game to sneak in a lot of extra hero powers and snowball that to gain an advantage and close out the game early. So my approach was taking that assumption and then trying to look at the classes that would benefit from using their hero power in that way to gain a tempo advantage. So we've got Mage, Druid, Hunter, Rogue, Shaman, and Paladin. Now, I think you can kind of just discard the first 4 of those right away. So if we look at Mage, you're trying to play a Tempo Mage deck without Mana Worm. And also, to a lesser extent, the Secrets, which means, like, no. Explosive Runes, which is a really big deal right now. No Mana Worm and a Tempo Mage seems super sketchy. And all you're doing is getting to put some extra pings in the early game. That just doesn't sound worth it. There's no Arcane Intellect. I don't think even Mage is worth looking into. Druid, you don't get to play the hero card or Nourish. Those are probably better. Also, if we're looking at it as like a tempo deck, so Tempo Druid is normally built around spamming out lots of dudes, mainly 1-drops, which you can't play, and then casting Savage Roar, which you can't play. So it doesn't work at the typical Druid shell, and also you just can't use 2 of the best like Druid staples right now, which is more ramp and draw, and then your hero card, which just gives you so much staying power. So I don't see that one working. Hunter, you can't play 1-drops or Kill Command in an aggressive Hunter. Don't do that. Don't do that. Being able to... So you want to use your Hunter hero power after you play the minions to finish off your opponent. Being able to steady shot on turn 1 is terrible. That doesn't do anything. It's like Smite Face all over. This is basically the Dennis archetype right here. Don't play even Hunter. Rogue is not offensively bad. Like, Rogue doesn't actually lose too much if you try to do like an even tempo Rogue. You lose SI, which hurts a lot. You lose Cold Blood. I guess you do lose a bit. But the hero power doesn't benefit quite as much as the others. So the reason the Rogue hero power is so good on tempo is that you pay to get the weapon, and then you can use the weapon on 2 turns, and they don't have to be... it doesn't have to count the turn you use it, right? So you can invest in it and then use it for free later without the mana investment. Yeah, like making that cost 1 is cool, but it's not that, like, it's good, but it's not quite as good because you don't even hit your button as a rogue as often anyways, so the discount's not as impactful. So there might be... I wouldn't be too surprised if somebody made like an even rogue work just to do it. I don't see it being good. I don't see a reason to do it, but it's a thing that maybe could exist just cause. But probably bad. So let's look at the last 2. Shaman is actually really interesting. Well, actually, okay, let's look at... If you have Shaman and Paladin left as like the interesting 2. So what do they lose... together? What are the neutral things they lose? They lose Murlocs and Pirates, 2 of the main tempo tribes. Those are just out. Leroy Jenkins. You lose all 1-drops, but Firefly and Dire Mole are kind of notable as like the premium 1-drops in Standard recently. You can't use Tar Creeper, Vicious Fledgling, Bitter Tide Hydra, Cobalt Scalebane, Skelemancer, Nightmare Amalgam could be a thing. Witchwood Grizzly, which is probably going to be a thing. And Countess Ashmore, if that card turns out to be good. But, like, that's... I don't know. It's a decent amount of neutral, kind of tempo-oriented, aggressive-ish cards that you can't touch. But it's not, like, an unworkable amount. So let's look at what the classes themselves actually do. Shaman... You lose Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst, Lightning Storm, Mana Tide, Doomhammer, Drakari Defender, and Unstable Evolution. So most of the things that you use to actually kill your opponent and like close out the game, and most of the things you'd use to generate value and stay. Also, like your only real AoE now. Is that the only AoE now? I should have done better research on this. I don't know off the top of my head. Like for an aggressive Shaman, they might only have Lava Storm. Or not Lava Storm. Lightning Storm. Lava Storm's like 2 sets away. They're going to run out of words to combine. Yeah, so that's a lot that you're actually losing there. You're actually losing a good bit. But what you're gaining is pretty intriguing. Being able to totem on turn 1 every single game is significant. Because you still have Flame Tongue Totem. You have Primal Fin Totem. You have the new Eel. The new Eel is actually... We're going to talk more about this later when we get to it. But it's a really good card. Like, right now, dealing 2 damage isn't as impactful because a lot of the early game minions have 3 health. You have, like, Clerics, Mana Worms, all the 2/3s and Secret Mage. And then other people don't really play minions. Like, those are the things. And I guess it kills like all the paladin minions, and it kills like the bards from Kingsbane Rogue, so it's like good. But Secret Mage is like going away. Priest is going to have to completely restructure its deck, so the meta is going to shift, and it might shift in such a way that 3/2s are more common than 2/3s, and if that happens, then the Eel is insane. Being able to kill your opponent's 2-drop while developing a 2-drop is just... It's crazy in tempo games, and this is a tempo deck we're talking about, so could be something there. But you have a lot of the stuff that weaponizes your totems, and you can just keep making totems. You always start the game with a totem. Yeah, I'm at the very end of the final video. I'm going to look over a few decks that I've got put together that look kind of interesting. I'm looking to try on release day. This is one of them, so we're going to look at this. Again, it's I don't know. It's sketchy because you gotta beat Paladin. Q Block, you have like Hex 4, but they have Defiles, so I think they just beat you anyways. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. I had a maintenance guy come. Anyways, even Shaman, we're gonna look at more like a possible deck later. I think it has potential. It just sums up. I think it has potential. It's gonna have to work really hard. To beat Aggro Paladin and Q Block, which are, they're not going anywhere. But I think it has potential. So we'll just put a pin in that and come back to it. What else? Okay, Genn Paladin. Paladin's losing Lost in the Jungle, Righteous Protector, and Divine Favor is kind of a really big one. But aside from those 3 cards, it's not really losing much. Rallying Blade's rotating anyways, so people will probably be doing like True Silver to compensate for that if they want another early game weapon. So that, you can just run that here, being able to make a 1/1 every single turn pretty much throughout the opening stages of the game could be good for like on-board consistency. But I don't know. I think it's probably okay because you're not losing that much. Righteous Protector actually is a pretty big loss, as is Divine Favor. Makes your Call to Arms actually way worse, now that I think about it. So, like, on paper, you're not losing that much. I think you are losing a lot. More importantly, I don't see a reason to do Genn Paladin, but people will probably try it, and it'll probably be moderately successful. To the degree that aggressive Paladin's already successful, and you still have Call to Arms and your 2-drops, so that probably will be fine. I just don't see like a strong incentive to do it, but you probably can do it. It's basically all I wanted to say about Genn Paladin, and that kind of sums up Genn. I don't think the card's that great, but the card is very interesting. What sucks about Genn, I was really excited for it, on a general note, for like Inspire in Wilds, where the cost reduction, even on later turns in the game, could be really meaningful. But most of the Inspire cards you want are odd, like Sarad and Paletris, stuff like that. They're odd cost minions, so you can't even run them together. That's really disappointing there. I feel like Genn could have had more potential, and he might still have a lot of potential. But there he is. There he is. So then we've got Baku. Baku is the complete opposite, obviously. But whereas Genn, you want to really capitalize on the tempo, Baku, you want to play a slow game. You want to play a slower game generally with Baku because you really want to be able to hero power as often as you can to really get that advantage. So you don't necessarily have to play fast, or really even want to play fast with Baku. You want like a grindier, more value-oriented deck that can slow down the game and get the value out of that. So what is what is good with that? We can look at, like, first of all, let's say Odd Druid. Odd Druid, the upgraded Druid hero power is really, 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 really crazy good. It's like you know how good the Druid hero card is? It's like you get both modes of that together every turn since the start of the game. It's crazy good. That being said, do not play Odd Druid. You can't play Wild Growth, Wrath, Swipe, Spreading Plague, Ultimate Infestation. Like, all the good Druid cards are off the table and you have no AoE. You're gonna die. Don't play Odd Druid. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's so tempting. Don't do it. Just do not do it. It'll be a disaster. I firmly believe that. Okay. So Warlock. Let's look at Warlock then. Being able to draw a card and not take damage. That's also a very powerful ability, but you lose the File, you lose Hellfire, you lose the hero card, which is pretty good, you know? I mean, not just for the hero power, like the battle cry is really shaping how Control Warlocks play at the moment. I don't know if you've heard. You don't get the Spellstone, which kind of feeds into the other point, is that not taking damage from your hero power doesn't actually matter. And Warlock's gotten really good at healing itself. Like, really good at healing itself back up to full. So the benefit of not hurting yourself doesn't actually help that much. It helps mostly in matchups against, like, really aggressive opponents. Like, if you're against Hunter, you can't tap as much because you're going to be killing yourself faster, but also you can't tap as much anyways because you need to do stuff proactively or you'll die. So, like, in the matchups where it's relevant, it's only so relevant, and it doesn't matter at all anywhere else. So I don't see Baku Warlock being a thing. But that being said, we do have several other very powerful hero powers that could be built around. So first of all, let's look at what you're losing for everyone, like the neutral cards. Again, from the perspective that you want to slow down the game and play like more a value-oriented game plan. You lose Doomsayer, Blood Mage Thalnos, Spellbreaker is pretty notable because a lot of people are running that to counter the cube blocks. Of course, you can't play any of the giants. Serenite Chain Gang, I don't know why I put that in there, actually. But and kind of a notable taunt, not really. Prince Kaliseth, kind of at odds with the game plan, but it's still a noteworthy card you can't use, that people were just kind of jamming in anything for a while. And you can't run the Spiteful Summoner Grand Archivist packages. So you're not losing, like, too much. Honestly, like, Doomsayer or Spellbreaker are the most important things there. And you can get around that. So let's look at the classes themselves. Odd Warrior. Oh my god. I have high hopes for this, honestly. So Justicar Trueheart is like the main reason to play Control Warrior back in the day and also in Wild today. It's notable that like Tank Up is such a good card, or good hero power, that you would put a 6-mana 6/3 in your deck just for the chance of at some point during the game being able to find her and then play her just to get it. That promoted, like, that was the cornerstone of so many decks. And as soon as she went, Control Warrior really kind of died in Standard. We haven't seen much Control Warrior since Justicar rotated, other than these recent, like, Fatigue Warrior things. So it's an extremely powerful hero power. Extremely powerful. Getting it from the beginning of the game is potentially quite crazy. A lot of those early Control Warrior turns, you're just armor up pass. Gaining 4 every turn you pass. It's pretty good. But what are you losing? You are actually losing a lot. So let's be honest with it and let's look through it. You're losing Execute Execute's not seeing as much play since the nerf, but it's still a very strong card, and you can't use it. No Armor Smith, kind of notable. Slam, Can't use Grom. Grom is like the classic warrior win condition. You Alex them, and then you Grom, Inner Fire, charge them in the face. Lots of blood and gore, and you win the game. It's great. We haven't seen much of that in a while anyways, but it is worth pointing out. That's like the classic win condition. You can't play it. You also can't play the current win condition, which is Dead Man's Hand. So you have to find a new way to win the game if you do get the shell itself to work. You can't play Blood Razor, which is huge downside. And I cannot stress that enough, that not being able to play Blood Razor is a really big deal. That honestly might be the best warrior card in Standard right now. It's close. Like, that card is really good. You can't play Bring It On, Dry Whisker Armorer, Unidentified Shield. These are all, like, okay things, but your hero power kind of makes up for those. You can't play Warpath, which we're going to talk about in the warrior video. But spoilers, really good AoE. So that's kind of an issue. Militia Commander might be good, and you can't touch it. Deadly Arsenal might be good, and you can't touch it. So there's a lot of really powerful control tools that you can't actually use. But you also have a lot of stuff that you still do. And I have a list. We're also going to look at a possible formulation of what a Baku or odd control warrior might look like, maybe, in a couple days. So we'll look at that a little bit later. But you still have a lot of tools left. You're missing a lot, but I think there might be enough control tools remaining in the class to have a viable shell, and then you have that tank up, just kind of making up for it. So we'll see. My hopes are honestly really high, because I fucking love Control Warrior. I just love, boop, boop, just tap that button, get behind your wall of armor, and just be an asshole. It's great. Alright. Going in the opposite direction, though, we have Odd Hunter. Hunter's losing almost nothing. You can't... Well, okay, let's... That's not true. You can't play Crackling Razor Maw and Houndmaster, which is like... Those are your big onboard swing cards. And actually, I shouldn't say almost nothing. You're losing 2 cards, but they're like the best 2 cards. So you're losing your best 2 win more, snowball the game minions, okay? And that sucks. And you're also losing Flanking Strike, High Main, both somewhat notable. But you get to shoot your opponent for 3 any turn you want. Infinite Bolts is a lot of damage. Like, the Hunter hero power on its own already is a lot of damage. And just adding an extra point of damage every time you do it, like, it might not sound like a lot, but I feel like that adds up quite rapidly. And you can play 1-drops. So the idea, the Odd Hunter concept, I guess, is you have a lot of 1-drops. So you're going to play 1-drops on turn 1 and 2 more on turn 2. You're basically playing Quest Hunter, but don't put the quest in the deck. It's a trap. Do not ever play the quest. Don't do it. You do not want to miss turn 1. Then by the time your dinosaurs come, like, you could just been shooting them. Just don't play the quest. But do play lots of 1-drops. So you play lots of 1-drops. You can still have 3-drops. You have Bow Kill Command for lots of extra burst. You still have Animal Companion, so that always rolls Huffer, right? More burst. And, you know, you can play some other 3-drops there. You can even curve up to, like, Bitter Tide Hydra on 5. Like, Bitter Tide Hydra for a while was a really solid, like, aggro staple. Yeah, so you just spam the stuff, you drag it to the face, and then you bolt them every turn you can. Once your hand's, you know, running out of stuff to drop onto the board, and then hopefully they just die. Does that beat Q-Block? I have no idea if that beats Q-Block. But if you can kill them before they drop all their walls of, like, demon taunts and heal back to full, then you win. But if they can do that faster than you can kill them, then you don't win, and it's bad, because you're going to hit a lot of Q-Blocks. So I honestly don't know if this is going to be a good deck. I kind of really don't want it to be. I had this concern with the Hunter quest, too. where it just looked too consistent. But thankfully there, not being able to play a minion on turn 1 sabotages it. I'm hoping something else sabotages this, because I don't want to play against it. And if it's good, it's going to be every game, and I'm going to hate this meta. So I don't want it to be good, but I'm definitely going to try it on release. I think it could be good, which is cool and also scary. What do we have left? Baku Priest. The hero power is so-so. It's more so you can play the new 5-drop, which I guess we'll talk about more when we get there. But as we're pointing out now, you lose Divine Spirit, Shadow Visions, Duskbreaker's really big. No 2-drops or 4-drops, which cannot be stressed enough in a deck looking to curve out into the 5-drop, which again, I guess I should just delay this later. I'm not convinced that Odd Priest will be good, but the 5-drop is broken if it works. If it works. So I guess we'll just talk about that then. So we'll put a pin in that one too, but I think some potential. It could be like a sleeper hit. It just comes out and dominates the meta. But no Shadow Visions, no Divine Spirit, no Duskbreaker, and you can't curve out, which makes it really hard to play cards that require you to curve out and then snowball that into killing your opponent with big stuff. So probably maybe not great, but keep your eye on it. Baku Mage in Standard sounds horrible. Baku Mage in Wilds is intriguing. So this is another deck I've got ready that we'll look at later. But just go over it. You're losing Frostbolt and Fireball are the two really big cards. So you're basically gaining a Hunter hero power, which is extremely strong because it can also target minions. And you're losing Frostbolt and Fireball. You lose Apprentice, Aluneth, Pyroblast, Vex Crow I threw in there. That looks like it might be something, but we'll get to that one later. In Standard, I don't see that working. But in Wild, we have Firelands Portal and Explorers. Is it Explorer's Torch? I know. I always call it Roaring Torch. That's the card you get off of it. Not Forgotten Torch. I don't know. The Torch. The Torch from League of Explorers. I think it's Explorer's Torch, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, so you still have two really powerful burn spells. You have the Cat, which is a completely busted 3-drop. Just completely broken. You can also play the Drakes, which is the old school cats. Leroy goes in there. We're gonna look at a possible way this deck can come together. You still have like Mana Worms and stuff, Arcane Blasts. So the idea being that it's a form of Tempo Mage with lots of... You don't have Aluneth, but a lot of your cards just draw cards anyways, so maybe you just don't need that. You don't have Frostbolt or Fireball, but you have a Hunter hero power, and you can make fireballs with your torches. Like a torch is a Frostbolt and a Fireball put together. And you have a Hunter hero power, and you have Firelands Portals. Just think of, like, it's Hunter with Firelands Portals and torches, and Azure Drakes and Azure Cats, and it's just... It could be something. Something. What was that? It could be something. Yeah. So that I think that's really cool and wild. I don't see it in Standard. If they print more burn, more odd cost burn specifically in the coming sets, then we could see like a Baku Mage come up. But I don't see it like right away happening in Standard. It just doesn't seem relevant. And then lastly we have Paladin. So being able to summon 2 dudes with your hero power is very, very powerful for being able to reload and just stay on the board. You're losing Equality, which is actually very good when you just have lots of 1/1s. It allows you to just, unfairly trade and be really cool. You don't have Tyrion. It's kind of notable. You can't play Call to Arms. You can't play Call to Arms. You cannot play Call to Arms. So really, don't play this, but just to complete the list. Hydrologist, Knife Juggler, Valenier, Crystal Lion, Spiker Steed, the Glass Knight, Silver Sword. You can't play Call to Arms. You can't do that. So don't play Odd Paladin. Like, what are you doing, dude? Stop it. And so that kind of wraps up what I wanted to say about the cards. I think I'm sure I missed stuff here. It's really hard because you have to completely change how you visualize, like the way the game flows and how you build around these cards. And you don't want to draw either of them. You never want to have Genn or Baku in your hand, especially Baku. I don't think you ever play Baku. I don't think you ever actually play the card because you can't even hero power the turn you do it. so I don't know. I think if anyone ever plays Baku, they're probably misplaying, like physically putting it on the board. So you never. It's the most literal dead card they've ever printed. You do not want to draw these, but they're interesting in terms of building around, and like the benefit's really cool. So I don't know, but we'll see. So that's gonna wrap up my little introductory spiel. I just wanted to really give these guys some attention because I'm sure somebody else probably has done this somewhere, but I haven't seen a video on it. And there's a lot to go over. Like I skimmed through. If I didn't mention like a class and legendary combination, just assume it's because I dismissed it as a thing that's not gonna happen. But I can be wrong. There's a lot to cover. But yeah. We'll continue with the classes and then do the neutrals. See it.